Hey, how you doing? This is Dr. Dave, and this is my son, Austin.
Hi.
Dr. Diane's been after me that I need to do more father-son projects. So rather than join Scouts, we figured we would read this blog together. So Austin's gonna read, I'm gonna do the color commentary, and as usual, I'm the guy that writes these, and I would love to hear any comments that you have if you want to talk about these. Things along those lines, that would be fantastic. I'm not posting myself up as an authority, I'm just sort of pointing some things out, and as always, I'm more interested in what you think than what I think. So, we'll go ahead and read this one, and Austin will start.
All right, so it's titled, Maybe the Grinch Was Onto Something.
Yes, he was. The Grinch is wonderful.
Yes. As resident Grinch here at Paragon Chiropractic, he is a big fan and will always side with our green-bellied brother.
And just so you know, Theodore Geisel spent time going to school in France. And there's a French word called Grinchot, if I pronounced that right, which means kind of like a sourpuss or something. So it looks like Dr. Seuss coined the term Grinch. So that's something to like
It's your
him
new
for.
nickname, El Grincho.
Oh, Grinchot.
So we've got a lot of flavor there. L on the French, that's a good combo.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get started here, and I'm gonna try and channel my Boris Karloff. And all the Who girls and boys who would wake bright and early, they'd rush for their toys. And then, oh the noise, noise, noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise. That cheerful Christmas quote is from Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Obviously, I'm sure we've all seen that and are familiar with the cartoon version or the Jim Carrey disaster. But Abby used to call it when we were growing up, she used to call it De Grinch de More Christmas, which who knows what that means, but that's where she's at. So, Dr. Dave says, I say this because you have been noticing how loud it seems to be getting, right? Even now, at 6 p.m. on a Thursday evening, I'm listening to a lawn crew and their leaf blowers and have been for the past half an hour.
Half hour.
Yeah, I know. And you damn kids might as well get off my lawn.
That's right.
While they're at it, too. But honestly, doesn't it seem to be getting louder and louder? Studies are associating exposure to high noise levels and the activation of stress hormones, such as cortisol, which reduce pancreatic insulin secretion and decrease insulin sensitivity throughout the body, leading to an increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes, obviously something we don't want, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it will. So this is just noise. So your body, it's like, gosh, you listen to these cars down the road and the leaf blowers and stuff like that for hours on end and everything else like that. And you could say, yeah, it sort of irritates me, but it's actually, there's physiological changes going on, and you're elevating your blood sugar, and Austin will read that it's a little more than just elevating the blood sugar.
yeah, we definitely don't want to run that up. This is actually a double whammy, as less insulin, the cells are more resistant to what insulin there is. This is the fast track to type 2 diabetes. A 2011 study linked noise-induced hearing loss with impaired fasting glucose levels. That's pretty interesting. A 2014 study linked elevated body mass indexes, BMIs, with patients who reported occupational noise exposure. That's also pretty interesting.
They were fatter, they were heavier.
Yeah.
With all that racket. So the body, the blood sugar goes up, it doesn't go into the cells, you store fat, and we're off to the races just because everybody's got to make racket. They just got to make noise. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Well, actually, it'd be better if you looked at them. It said, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me.
Yeah. There's just a lot of volume coming at you these days. Just for an example, I don't know, I love going to the movies. I'm sure we've talked about going to the movies if you've been in here lately. But one thing that's pretty interesting is, I don't know if you've been in the theater lately, but the previews are unbelievably loud, blow you over loud. My sister and I and her husband and my wife and stuff, we all go to the movies, and we actually like have a joke where we'll just sit there and shout through the whole thing too, probably further just adding to the volume that's thrown at you. But they're trying to get at you because like because we have so much volume thrown at us, we're kind of used to muting things down. So they're just like trying to punch home to you. So they're going to do that with just ramping up the volume. And he doesn't like going to the movies very much, but
years.
But the same thing is true for horror movies. Rather than building any atmosphere or any real dread or anything, they just do what's known as a noise cue. So it's just a bang, and then that's the jump scare. It's not actually scary. It's again just volume thrown at you, punched through, and that's what gets the alarm going. And it does not such good things. So. That's why I am heavier than I want to be, because I watch too many horror movies.
Exactly. Plus the popcorn.
Yeah, well, yeah, don't get me started. Anyway, let's get rolling again. So all of this would include those who live in large commercial metropolises such as Phoenix, that's us, where noise pollution, like the kind from our friends with the leaf blowers, and all of the many noisy cars and motorcycles, it's been implicated in many adverse non-auditory health conditions such as hypertension, which is increased blood pressure, we don't want that, atherosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries, definitely don't want that, vascular dysfunction, and metabolic disorders, just like that, type 2 diabetes. No, you don't want any of that stuff. So all those things that are coming through the ear are actually having adverse health effects elsewhere in the body.
Right, like you said, metabolic disorder is elevated blood pressure, blood sugar, elevated triglycerides, cholesterol, and increased adiposity or fat around the waist. All because somebody's got to sit there and make this noise and stuff. I mean,
custom pipes on the Harleys. Nobody likes those. Come on now.
Come on, you're somebody.
I'm a motorcycle rider, and I don't care for that at all.
There are just times when you're standing around, somebody goes by and there's noise, and you're just like this.
Takes you to a 10.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Oh no, I'm cool. No, you're not cool.
He's wigged.
He's wigged.
As if you need some further proof, there's more studies showing that chronic exposure to noise, increased noise levels, can also lead to hypercholesterol, which is just elevated cholesterol levels, adiposity, that's the fat around the midsection that he was talking about, those type 2 diabetes, and so now it leaves us like, what's a person to do, right? We're all like in this environment, we all live in Phoenix for the most part. What are we supposed to do? Personally, Dr. Dave uses earplugs, or at least has them with him in case he needs them. When he's using power tools and lawn equipment, he wears big plastic earmuff things over his ears, and that seems to help him. Yeah. He says, but I suppose I am only contributing to the problem by keeping his yard looking nice. I don't know if there's any way to avoid all of the urban noise. I think I would find opportunities to nourish my soul. That is, find ways to get out into nature and spend time with the birds, butterflies, and trees. Much quieter there, right?
Yeah.
When trying to understand what's good for a person and what's bad, there are always at least two ways to look at the situation: physiologically and mentally. Physiologically, that means what happens to the body. Chronic exposure to loud noises simply has to take its toll. But how much toll is taken? Well, that's up to the individual himself and how harmful he or she feels the loud noises are to them. If a person thinks they will mess them up, then they will. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing with all sorts of stress. You always want a little bit of a challenge and so on and so forth. Even though all the noise and everything else is going on, I suppose you could just be like, oh, well, whatever, and just swim in the noise and not really have any impact. What they find is that it's what a person thinks. Like if you're of the opinion that stress is going to harm you and hurt you, it's not the stress, it's the fact that you thought that it would, and it does. So even with the noise, there's a physiological effect that occurs from the noise, but whether it wipes you out or it doesn't, or becomes a problem or doesn't, that once again is all you and what you feel and what you think and what you believe.
Right. Still, we will continue to wear earplugs when we can, try not to be so darn noisy, and continue to look for a way to, well, rise above the noise. On that point,
About that.
yeah, of rising above the noise, it doesn't have to just be that motorcycle thing. You can think of technological drone, just a wall of stuff that's just coming at you all the time. And you can actually be selective in that too. It doesn't have to just be like the bang at the movie theater like we talked about. Like there's just stuff coming at you all the time. So it makes you more selective and it makes you more intentional. Like, do I need to crank this? Do you actually love this song? Or is it just some garbage news feed that's like in your ear all the time? So crank up the volume on that stuff that you enjoy and take pleasure from and select to hear, you know, and are participating in attempting to hear, and try and quiet down all that other stuff that you don't dig, right? That's just literally wigging you out.
I think if a person's happy and they're doing something that they enjoy and this nourishes that soul, regardless of what it is, I think it's beneficial. So, you know, we've all been to concerts before. I do wear the earplugs because, you know, love the concert, it was great, but for 3 days when the ears are going, it still did something. There was still some damage. Boy, what a show, you know? So, I don't know. You know, try and get,
There's a happy medium to everything, you know? Yeah.
Just where you get a chance to be quiet, you know, but if you are out in nature, you don't want to listen to jackhammers and jet airplanes and stuff like that. So it's just something I noticed, that it was just noisy, and I wanted to see if it actually had any sort of an impact on a person other than me wanting to take a baseball bat and disciplining the miscreants.
So maybe the Grinch was looking out for us.
He was.
If you dig this video, this one is.
The Grinch loves us.
He's definitely looking out for us. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can add them to the written blog, or we just started getting some dialogue going on the YouTubes, which is hugely helpful for us as an office. So if you've got a comment or you just want to throw some love our way, please give us a thumbs up,
subscribe.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff really helps us out.
Super cool.
Yeah, exactly. Don't say anything about me or I'll never do another one of these again. I don't care for this stuff.
Austin is so cute.
No, please, nothing on that. All right.
Yeah, and if this doesn't work, then I got to take the boy camping. It's much easier. And join the Cub Scouts.
That won't happen.
This would be much easier to do this for father-son.
All right, I'm out of here. Let's go.